But if you are somebody like a family that does want a little bit of structure or maybe even just like needs a break to send their kids to something while you're focusing on your own thing, I mean, this could be an option.
This is Worldschooling Q&A. I'm Astrid, creator of The Wandering Daughter. As a traveling family, we've spent 4 years traveling full-time to over 18 countries and 6 continents. Wherever we go, we try to learn as much as we can about the countries and cultures we visit. While we didn't coin the term, we like to call this worldschooling, using the world as our classroom. Each week, my husband Clint and I will answer one question about worldschooling and share our experiences of traveling the world with our kids. Ready to get started? Great! Let's dive in.
This week, we are answering the question, how can we find worldschooling groups or meetups in different countries?
Great. We get asked this quite a bit. In fact, I think there's usually a lot of questions of like, there should just be one index that has all these. The problem is they're constantly changing and flowing. And we'll talk a little bit more of that when we get to like the worldschooling hubs. But I guess what's the easiest way to start finding worldschooling stuff?
Well, I mean, you speak about like, having an index and stuff, and it's so true. I mean, I have an article on my site that's about like worldschooling resources. So it's not just like it's just resources that would be helpful for somebody that's wanting to world school. But I do have a section in there that's talking about like the hubs and the meetups. And I'm constantly having to update those because there's always like new ones that show up or like new groups and things. So, I mean, that's a good resource for finding, like groups and stuff. But I think another good resource in general is Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, Facebook groups galore exist on the topic of worldschooling.
Yeah, just type in worldschooling Turkey, for example, or worldschooling Spain, or worldschooling, and just there'll be resources that pop up. And that's over the last 5-ish years or so. There's just been a huge explosion of worldschooling groups all around the world.
Yeah, and I mean, so there are like some small worldschooling Facebook groups, but what are some of the major ones? And when I say major, I feel like it's like at least thousands of members.
I think the biggest one, or one of the biggest ones, is Project World School.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one has, last I checked, something like 13,000 members, or maybe even more than that. It's got probably one of the most active conversations going on. That one's great because there's so many people posting about how, I mean, honestly, it's like kind of what we're talking about in this podcast, like, how do I get started worldschooling, or what do you do for work? I mean, there's so many questions that come out of that.
That one's created by Lainey Liberty, and she's been worldschooling. She's also another one of those like OG worldschooling parents.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I think another big one is Worldschooling Central, created by or run by Karen King.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good resource for world schoolers, just wanting to get started and like finding a community.
Yeah. We don't mention it on here, but there's a bunch of like World School pop-up ones. There's like World School pop-up Bali. There's things like that. Those are great ones. You have listed here, We Are World Schoolers is another one. What about a couple more?
Another one, and this is run by a woman that's a friend of ours, is Trailblazing Families. And this one, it's run by Liz Quain, and she's focused on like, or the group is not just like world schooling, but like digital nomad families too. So that's a good resource. And she does a lot. She's pretty active with like doing Facebook Lives and stuff too. So I think that's a good one to join.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one.
And I would say, I mean, I would also say to join my Facebook group, Responsible Family Travel. Also known as World Schoolers Traveling Sustainably. If you search that up on Facebook, you'll be able to find it. And that group, my group specifically, is focused on the sustainable and responsible travel aspect of world schooling and how we can be more mindful of our impact as travelers.
Cool. Well, so beyond groups, what's another way that you can find meetups or groups around the country?
Yeah. So actually within those Facebook groups, I think that there are people that will share their world schooling hubs or meetups and things like that that are happening. So I wanted to spend the latter part of this episode kind of talking specifically about certain hubs and meetups. I think the one that we personally have participated in and we really enjoyed was Anahata. And that's a group, she's got her, it's run by Patty, a woman named Patty, and she has her own Facebook group as well. But it's a world schooling community in Mexico.
Mostly Yucatan Peninsula exclusively. Yeah. It's bounced around a bit, but it's all been in the Yucatan Peninsula.
Yeah. What did you like about that community when we did it?
Yeah, I think that there's one caveat about it. It's kind of evolved in many different ways. So our experience is not what she does now necessarily.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think there's a caveat there. So you really have to go and look up her existing offering and see what it's like. But what we got out of it, which a lot of the world schooling hubs now try to offer, is basically just a community living in the same area, and not kind of co-housing, but not really, because we shared meals together. All the meals the kids had in our situation, the kids had an on-site school that they would go to. But throughout the day, we'd do things like yoga or meditation or communication or fitness. So just various activities throughout the day while people also worked and stuff. So it's just kind of a co-living with some sort of structure built around it. But the thing I loved about it most was just the community. I mean, just other families there. The kids wake up in the morning and there's other kids that are automatically out there playing. So that was set in Mexico. So the thing she does a lot now too is she focuses heavily on involving the local Ekbalam community. So a lot of the Mayan community that's part of that region.
Yep. And
she involves, part of hers is sharing the cultural experience of how they live and what they do and stuff like that. So that's a really good one.
Yeah, you're right. It has, her program has evolved over the years. And I do appreciate, because, Patty is Mexican. And so it feels like there is care and intention about connecting with local Mexican culture or immersing in Mexican culture that I really appreciated when we were there.
Yeah. Cool. What about another one?
So another one that's kind of that's on our what do you call it? Awareness. And friends have done this too, is the World School pop-up hubs. And this is kind of, so in the past, we've done World School pop-up communities where it's a full-on program, right?
Yeah,
you jump in and then the organizers are organizing this whole program and coordinating logistics and things like that. It's a lot. I feel like it's a lot of stress. I think back to when there used to be these pop-up communities called Stone Soup. And I remember talking to the lady who was running it, and just, there's a lot of things that go into planning that. At the one that we participated in had 35 families taking part. And so, and it was programming during the week.
Yeah, right.
So what I like about these pop-up hubs, and it's run by this woman named Rachel, or she started it, but actually families can choose to host a week, to be a host for a pop-up hub for a week. And it can be like, these take place anywhere in the world.
Yep.
Like if you have an idea to host a pop-up hub in Mexico, then, pitch it to Rachel, and then she can help you with planning it. But the planning part is like less stressful, in my opinion, than somebody like putting on a full-on program.
Because she takes some of the logistics of that away from you, right?
Well, that, and like it's more just like, here, you come up with some activities to do as a group. And then the rest of the time is just like, the families who are participating have a little bit more flexibility. It's not like you have to do, this is the program from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Right,
it's like,
right.
Oh no, every day this week, there's going to be like 1 or 2 activities that we'll do. And you're welcome to join or you're welcome not to. But, it's just like flexible in that way. And I think that kind of harkens back to, I remember when we used to do the Family Adventure Summit stuff. And then we'd stick around for a month after in the cities that it happened. And we'd just stay connected to the families that were there and be like, hey, what are you guys doing? Oh, you're going to like, when we were in Ubud, oh, you're going to Titi Batu, like, to hang out. Like, let's go meet up with you there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And what's nice now is anyone you talk to in the Worldschooling community is going to know of another hub or another meetup. Like they're so common now. When we were doing it, it was not as common. So a lot of us were searching for them, but they didn't really exist.
Yeah.
Or they were hard to find. But now it's like, it feels like everyone you talk to, they've been to or know of other ones. So then it kind of helps with that. We have some more listed here, but I think before we go into these, like the Worldschooling pop-up or the Worldschooling hub and the pop-up hubs and stuff, it's been kind of a ongoing, evolving thing over the last several years. There's a lot of interest in them. A lot of people have tried to do them. Like you said earlier, though, there's a lot of logistics. There's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of trust and a lot of things. So some succeed, some fail, some do it for a year or two and then go away. The ones we're going to mention here, I think ones have been around for at least a few times.
Yeah.
So chances are they'll be around for a little bit longer. Yeah. But don't be surprised. Like you mentioned Family Adventure Summit. That's how we first started Worldschooling. That was a conference. It was like a weekend or week-long conference. Mm-hmm. They did it for 3 years. It was absolutely wonderful, but it was too many logistics, too expensive. And eventually they stopped doing it. And so...
well, even like Lainey would put together like her Project World School summits. And that was several years. There were several years where she did that. And even she has since like moved on to other types of activities or events that she does.
Yeah. So anyways, that just goes to say, like, do your research on the ones that you see or you hear about. Don't be afraid to, try to poke around and see if anyone's gone to them. Try to get in touch with the host. It's a slightly unstable ground right now as far as where all these, and that's not to say that like anyone's malicious or anything like that. It's just, these are hard things to put on.
Yeah.
And so I tip my hat to anyone who's trying to do a hub. But they are hard. And so just do some research and ask around these. But the ones we're going to mention are ones we've heard of that have been around for a little while. They tend to have a little bit more structure to them. Good ones to try.
And just in full transparency, we haven't done each of these personally, but we know people who have done them. Mm-hmm. So that's why I feel like it's important to mention them here.
Yeah. Well, I can do the first one.
Yeah, sure.
So the first one is called Forever Wild. It's based in Southeast Asia and Africa. And they do like enrichment activities, community dinners, field trips, that kind of stuff. This one I think has some sort of structure to it. It's a little bit looser than I think the next one we're going to mention. But it's been around for at least a couple of years, I feel like.
Yeah.
And we've seen several of them pop up over the years. We've yet to attend them. We know a couple people who attended them. So it seems like a good one to maybe research if those country or those regions or something that seemed interesting in Africa and Southeast Asia.
Yeah. And I think what I was learning about them is, the days are, it's sort of like a few hours a day of like community time, community learning time and stuff. And so, if you're like a radical unschooler, maybe these types of programs aren't like the kind of thing for you. But if you are somebody like a family that does want a little bit of structure or maybe even just like needs a break to send their kids to something while you're focusing on your own thing, I mean, this could be an option.
And this one, I can't remember. I think this one had shorter stay options too, right?
I think so. But
it was like they had 1 week programs and 2 week programs. And they have some longer ones too. Worldschooling Pop-Up is a 1 week one. That's a short one.
Yeah.
Anahata, she likes it to be a month or longer.
Yeah. So sometimes like 3 months.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that the long ones are opposed to taking shorter, but it's hard for the program to cater to both short term and long term. So they tend to cater towards one or the other.
Yeah. So
that might help you decide your research, or if you reach out to the host and just say, hey, I really want to be somewhere for 3 months. How is your program support that? Because the other thing you don't want to go to a program that's geared more towards 1 or 2 weeks, and then you stay there for 3 months, because it might be repetitive, or it might get boring, or it might be not challenging. Whereas you don't really want to go to one that's geared towards a month or longer, and you're only there for a week, because they're going to like be doing very slow introduction stuff in the first week, and then you're leaving. So so it's just something to keep in mind. What about the next one?
The next one I want to mention is the Hive. They have a program in the Dominican Republic and then also in Spain. And when I first heard about the Hive, it was like a few years ago, but I think that the program has evolved over the years. And we had some friends who did the program and enjoyed it. And now, like, one of the things that they have is this like 6-week program that's focused on like learning based off of the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, which are like UN goals for, international development by 2030. I think that's one of the things. And being somebody who is like very, socially conscious, I think that is something that I like, is this idea of like, oh, we're learning, but we're also learning about how we fit within like the global community and how we fit within a global aspect. And this particular program is like, you spend the first week kind of learning about yourself, and then the next few weeks designing a project that might have like a global impact, and then the last week is about presenting your project. So it definitely seems like it's more structured, and we haven't done it yet. But yeah, it seems like it's more structured, but at the same time, it is like, I think if you're the type of family that likes to have that, it would in a community setting, I think that would be helpful. Yeah, it would be good.
So the last one we have on here, I'm actually unfamiliar with, so I might just let you talk about this one.
Yeah, this one again, like I'd heard about this World School Hub. It's called Deliberate Detour, and again, what draws me to them is their like focus on like deep diving into a culture. So they're only located in they only have programs in Oaxaca, Mexico, and Cusco, Peru. And they hire like local teachers and local like people that are like from those communities to share about the culture and teach about it. And then the program is like 2 to 3 weeks. There's like structured daily activities and then like field trips as well. But I really appreciate like the cultural immersion aspect of it.
Yeah.
And that it's like based off of like local knowledge and not just, you know, somebody that is like there for a short period of time that's like putting something together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's like, you know, pros and cons of each of them, right? I think so you, as a family, you have to sort of, as you're choosing what kind of world schooling hub or community to join, you have to think about like, how does it fit with your personal values too?
Can I be the grumpy OG guy first for just a second?
Yes.
So I think there's been a tendency to think that world schooling is only these hubs.
Right.
These hubs are fairly new in the world schooling world. Only the last few years that they've actually stabilized in any way. Some of these, not all of them, but some of these have actually stabilized in any way. But for the last 5+ years, they didn't really exist. Or if they existed in very small pockets, very specific groups. And so most of us from kind of our generation of world schooling and the ones before us, just literally traveled full-time with their kids, did what we called world schooling, which we talked about that in our first episode of like, you know, teaching kids as we go, using learning opportunities throughout the world. That's really what world schooling is. These hubs are fantastic. I think they're a great way for people to go if they're feeling hesitant in any way or don't know how to get started or just want to target to get started. But by no means is this represent all of world schooling, and not even I wouldn't even say
the only way to world school.
The only way to world school.
It's not the only way to world school.
So I think you know, use these as a possible way to do world schooling when you do your research, but know that it's like literally it's just traveling with your family and using learning opportunities. So it doesn't have to be these things. And the other thing, the reason I kind of want to say that is too, because I think people there, and we've seen this a lot in the Facebook groups, they'll want to world school and then they'll look at some of these programs and see how expensive they are, because they're expensive to run. A lot of these are really expensive to run. And then they get turned off and then they're like, oh, well, I guess I can't world school because I can't go to one of these hubs. And that's not the case at all. Like, it is absolutely not the case.
Yeah.
Yes, it takes a certain amount of privilege and it takes a certain amount of income or gumption, I guess, to do it.
Yeah.
But you don't need to put up the kind of cash that these world schooling hubs require in order to do it. So
yeah, I think you have to sort of, again, what I was saying is like balance out like the value that you think you'll gain from, you know, the world schooling hubs that you participate in, and also your own like personal values or your own personal goals of why you're world schooling in the first place. Like, if, you know, we tend to be, as a family, we tend to be more independent and like, you know, we're just going to do our own thing. If the stars align and there's another family in the city that we're at, then we'll hang out with them. But, you know, we're still going to do our own thing. And so we have participated in some of these world schooling hubs, like, you know, throughout our travels, but it's definitely not like it's not our priority. It's like, okay, we'll do it if it makes sense to us or if it aligns with like our travel schedule. But we're not adjusting our travel for the most part. Sometimes we are, but for the most part, we're not like adjusting or planning our travels to go from like hub to hub to hub to hub.
Yeah. And they are, they're nice. They just end up being sprinkled variations into our experience, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. And I think the other thing is with the Worldschooling hubs, you just also have to make sure your expectations are set correctly.
Yeah.
You have to understand the complexity of this and not go into it thinking this is a polished all-inclusive resort, because it's not going to be.
Yeah.
And so you need to adjust expectations based on that, regardless of what the sales page says. I think you need to set expectations. And the other expectation, and this is one of the reasons why I think we probably don't go hub to hub to hub, is because even the ones that are culturally immersive, you're still a group within this culture.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still kind of coming at it from
like an outside
group.
Yeah.
So it's still got this little bit of like a tour group mentality. And that's just the way it is. So we still really prefer living in an apartment or home in a residential area and just like living life as if we were there. And so that's our style. So if that resonates with you, that's great. Mm-hmm. If the Worldschooling stuff, the hubs resonate with you, that's great. Or if a mixture, that's great.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're establishing that there's multiple ways to do this.
And before you join one of them, talk to people that have done it. Mm-hmm. It's to see if they can give you like a candid experience. They can give their candid opinions of the experience that they had.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I forgot what I was going to say, but
I'm sorry. I talked
No. With that said, we have met some really great families. We've made some very close friends just from like these Worldschooling hub experiences. And so those are why we would still, suggest as if you're a family that's curious about Worldschooling, like that's why we would suggest like, consider one of the hubs as like an introduction too. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, anything else you want to mention?
Nope, that's it.
All right, great.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Worldschooling Q&A with Astrid and Clint. Be sure to check out the show notes for any links we mentioned in the episode, and visit my website, thewanderingdaughter.com, to dive deeper into Worldschooling and family travel.
If you like what you hear, please consider supporting The Wandering Daughter on Patreon. It really helps us out and keeps the show going. You'll also get exclusive perks like episode transcripts, additional resources, access to office hours with us, and more. You can find us on Spotify or the podcast app of your choice. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you can tap the bell icon to get notified when new episodes come out. And if you like this episode, please give us a 5-star review. It really helps new people find our show.
If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap the bell icon to get notified of new episodes. You can follow me on Instagram @WanderDaughter or follow The Wandering Daughter on Facebook. Links to these are also in the show notes. If you have any Worldschooling questions you'd like us to answer for future episodes, feel free to throw them in the comments or send us a message at thewanderingdaughter.com/podcast. Until next time, happy travels!
Bye!